of the darkness and into the light. It's the This Woman Knows podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the This Woman Knows podcast. I am your host, Lisa Ann Alexander. Today we are going to talk about your intuition, your inner God channel, your God frequency, that still small voice, the voice of God within. My grandmother, she called it her right mind, her first mind. And, she would do something and it wouldn't go well. And she would always say, I should have listened to my first mind. And how many times have we said that? It's like, I should have listened to my first mind or that first thought that I've had. And I've always when I have conversations with people about that first mind, I tell them it's like we always call it into question like it's been wrong. And then we come up with all these other things. But our first mind, that first thought, usually it's 99.9% of the time that thing is correct. It is accurate. And so I know a lot of people struggle with learning their intuition, learning the voice of God for themselves. And it can be a struggle. And you really do have to start leaning into being obedient to what you hear, whatever that first mind, your intuition, your God channel, your God frequency, still small voice, whatever you want to call that. Lean into that and listen and be obedient and follow that voice, that inner voice. So there's a story that I've told, true story that happened to me. I remember, this has been at least over a decade ago. I remember I was late coming home and I had promised my husband that I was going to be home at a certain time, and I was running very late and I still needed to stop at the store. And so my intuition, the God channel, God speaking said, go to HEB. But I'm thinking it's like, I don't have time to go to HEB. I know it's going to take me, I got to do some roundabouts to get over there. Kroger is on the way home. I can stop at Kroger, be in and out, get back home and be done. So I ignore my own intuition, God speaking. I ignored it and I bypassed HEB and went to Kroger. And I had my daughter. My daughter was, I think, middle school or maybe even elementary school at the time. So this was a real long time ago. And we go in and I'm walking through the store and I hear what sounds like somebody dropping crates. The pallets. Sounds like somebody dropped pallets on the ground. And, we're looking around and then the next thing I know, people start running. And so, like we do. So if people start running, we start running as well. How come there was a robbery of the Wells Fargo inside of the Kroger at that very moment we were in the store and shots were fired? So as I'm running out the back of the store, trying to catch my breath, and then running down the street, and then see the drive-away car, the getaway car, drive right by us with the people in the car going to go. It was just a crazy experience. And the whole time I'm thinking, it's like, I was told to go to HEB. I could have avoided all of this had I gone to HEB. I would not be caught up in the mix here at Kroger with everybody else out of breath from running. And we have to learn how to listen and adhere to those inner warnings, those inner guidings. They are there to help us, and we really should lean into those and strengthen our ability to hear, right? So a very long time ago, when back in church, I remember this story of a prophet who had been given instructions on what he was to do. And so he went and did what he was supposed to do and came across another prophet. And this prophet said, well, I hear from God too. And he told me to tell you that you should do X, Y, and Z. So the first prophet ignores what he heard and follows what this other prophet said. And it ended in his demise. And I remember being horrified by this story because I felt sorry for the man. And it's like, well, this other person said he heard from God and said that he was supposed to do something. But now that I am older and have been through a few things, I understand the importance of sticking with what you heard, regardless of who comes to you and says, well, I think it's this, that, and the other, or I heard, that it should be this. You follow through with what you heard. Otherwise, it ends up in your demise. I am telling you what I know to be true. And I think about so many times how I have disqualified, discounted what I heard and embraced what somebody else heard, and it never earned me the results because that word was not for me. I had already received, my intuition had already led me, told me, my inner voice, inner God channel, my God frequency had already told me and given me my instructions or told me what I could expect or what I needed to do. But when I leaned into what somebody else said, because I didn't trust me, because what they said sounded more plausible than the thing that I had heard. Anybody can relate to this? And so I want to encourage you today. So if this is the This Woman Knows podcast and we talk about lessons learned, here's a valuable lesson that I learned. Lean into what you know to be true for you. Lean into your own intuition. Lean into your own inner God channel, frequency, whatever you call that thing. Lean into it. Learn to trust it. So when you hear go right, go right. When you hear go left, go left. Don't question it. Then another thing that comes up are these internal red flags. You may be in a situation. You may be talking to someone. You may be getting ready to do business with someone. If you get a red flag and it's internal, this red, like something seems off, I'm going to encourage you to not ignore the red flag. You don't have to be able to explain the red flag at all. There's no explanation. You just need to know, I got a red flag. I'm going to push pause, or I'm watching. I'm very careful. I'm looking around because I got a red flag. You don't ever have to explain it. You just need to acknowledge it and say, I duly noted, red flag seen, we're going to push pause. Every time I have acknowledged the red flag, every time I see it, I acknowledge what my inner God frequency is telling me. I see it and I acknowledge it. It has saved me. When I have not, I have had more woe than I care to share, more than I care to talk about. And so today I really want you to lean into what you hear and start to trust that and not be like that prophet who abandoned what he heard, which was a gift from God. He abandoned that and embraced somebody else's word. Embrace your own word and live.
I am the spitting image of my father. I share his big eyes, same dark, tightly coiled hair, same wide nose. I am his daughter, and I loved him. And some days...
Miss Williams, your father was admitted to ICU last night. Miss Williams? Miss Williams, are you there?
That's a heavy cross to bear.
All right, everybody, that's our brief episode for today. We're talking about lessons learned. Learn to lean into your own intuition, your own God channel, and live and grow and prosper and succeed and see much success. All right, everybody, we will see you next week on the This Woman Knows podcast. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of This Woman Knows podcast. For show notes, blog posts, guest booking information, and sponsorship opportunities, visit us online at www.thiswomanknows.com today.